I want to start this introduction out in honor of our special guest here with a trivia question, if I could. Okay? Who is the only man to play for the Wings, the Amherst, and the Zeniths? Anybody know? Anybody know? I haven't heard of it.
I got it.
Okay, Gary, who?
Fred.
Costello. All right, let's give Fred a big applause. Come on, Fred, come on down. And to add to this, being a good reporter, I did a little research here, did a little interview ahead of time here. And Fred, for the record, Fred played 3,103 Wings games, and counting, of course. 1,481 Amherst games and 45 Zenith games for a total of 4,629 games and counting. Pardon? Probably another 2 seasons, right?
Yeah,
we can go over. Unless you want to do some road games, we can speed it up a little bit. Probably another 3 seasons here. Fred, it's a real pleasure to have you. I wish I could have played the keyboards for you, but the keyboard I operate is in front of a computer and stuff, so you wouldn't want to hear me play music. But I want to talk to you a little bit about how this love of music and baseball came about. I know you dreamed growing up in Syracuse of becoming a musician, but also becoming a professional baseball player. Tell us a little bit about how this all came about.
Well, as a kid growing up in Syracuse, I did want to be a musician, and I also wanted to be a ball player. And as a kid in high school, I got a job at MacArthur Stadium on the grounds crew, so I could work out with the team, and I was convinced I was going to be the next Mickey Mantle. Well, that didn't work out very well. But I played some summer pro ball in Syracuse and really had aspirations of being a ball player. And now all these years later, the dust settles, I'm a musician at the ballpark. Got best of both worlds.
When did you play your first musical instrument, and what was it?
My first instrument was the accordion. And I played accordion for actually many years. And people asked me, why did you switch from the accordion to the organ? I said, well, there was no place to set the drink.
You talk about semi-pro ball. Tell us, like, what, you know, like you played high school baseball, I assume, and stuff. And,
Yeah, it was just not too much because I was playing in nightclubs at the time also. So actually it became more music and less baseball. But I spent 11 years on the road in 43 states in those 11 years. And every place I went to play a club, I kept my baseball equipment in the car. And we'd go to different towns and we'd ask them, you know, could you use your ballpark to work out a little bit. So in the back of my mind, I still had that Mickey Mantle thing, you know.
And you know, you mentioned about the accordion. How did that come about? How did you take that up?
Well, the thing is, when you were an Italian and lived on the north side of Syracuse, part of growing up was playing the accordion. That's what you're bringing up, so that's what I did. Every kid in the block played accordion.
Now you also you originally were going to go to Syracuse University. You had enrolled, and
Right.
then those plans changed. What happened?
Well, just about the time I was going to start at Syracuse, I decided to go on the road. And as I said, I left the next 11 years was spent traveling coast to coast, mainly on the West Coast. And as I said, played many states, and I don't regret it. I enjoyed it.
Now you warmed up for a guy by the name of Frank Sinatra, and so tell us a little bit. Did you meet Frank? I mean, how did that work out?
When I was working the Nevada circuit, Las Vegas and LA and Lake Tahoe, I played at Frank Sinatra's club, which is the Calmiva Lodge. But I did not meet Frank because that was at the time that he was losing the club because of the gamblers that were living there. You're not supposed to have a felon living on your premises. So Frank spent all that time in Carson City, Nevada, He lost the club and he lost his 9% of the stands. But we were there for 4 weeks. It was so fun.
What was the first sporting event you ever played at? Do you remember?
Yeah, actually, when I first came to town, they had the Silver Stadium, when they changed the name to Silver Stadium for Maury.
Okay.
And there's a local group in town that hired me to play with a band for that opening. I mean, I wasn't working for the Wings at the time. And little did I know that I would eventually be the organist for the team.
And tell us how that came about. How this whole thing come about with the Red Wings?
Well, we came to Rochester. It's so funny. We got married, Kathy and I got married. By the way, I've been there 42 years with the Wings. My lovely wife has been nighttime secretary for 40 years. So, Kathy, take a bow. So we got married in California, and we thought we were going to live there. And then we had our choice to work either Bahamas or Hawaii, so we took the Bahama gig because I hadn't seen my folks in Syracuse, and Kathy is Canadian but grew up in Rochester, hadn't seen her folks. So we went to Bahamas for 4 months after getting married. And Kathy got pregnant, well, we got pregnant, it takes two. We got pregnant in Bahamas and decided to come back to Rochester or Syracuse, have a baby, and then go back west. Well, we went to this club called Val's Lounge, which is now called the Otter Lounge in Brighton. Went in there for 6 weeks. We stayed 3.5 years, 6 nights a week, 9 to 2. 6 nights a week, 9 to 2. You don't see that anymore. But now I had 3 kids. I'm definitely going back to California. One phone call changed everything. We're having breakfast one morning. I pick up the paper, and it says Donald Bruzzo was named general manager of the Wings. I said, gee, I know Don from when I lived in Syracuse. So I called Don up. I said, hey, what would you think about having live music at the games? And Don says, tremendous. So he gave me a 1-year contract in '77, and they can't get rid of me.
Now, I remember talking to you a while ago for a column I did on you, and it wasn't a real pleasant debut, right, in terms of the weather, like back at Silver. And you might want to tell people, like, you've got this nice little booth over here now that protects you from the weather, but that wasn't always the case at Silver Stadium, right?
The first 2 years, the organ was right out in the stands. I mean, I was playing with a coat on and a scarf and gloves. And my opening night, I'm very nervous, never played before at a ball game. And the general manager came up to me, Don, and he's kind of a nervous little guy, and it was raining out, very lightly raining. He said, Fred, we gotta get this game in. Do you know a short version of the anthem? I said, no, I'm playing faster.
I mean, it was blowing sideways and everything, you weren't protected, right? A little bit better here.
Yeah, right.
Now, you've had some opportunities to go to the big leagues here. I mean, you had chances with the Yankees, the Mets, the 76ers, the SABRs, am I forgetting? Rockies as well. Tell us a little bit about why you didn't leave for that.
Well, my son, who was with the Tampa Bay Rays at the time, called me and said, Dad, Eddie Layton's retiring from the Yankees, and they are very interested in having you. So I flew down to New York. It was like a wintry morning in January. I played 3 or 4 numbers, and the PR guy said, okay, you're just what we want. We'll call you next week with an offer. And the money was great if I lived in New York. But after 11 years of traveling, I really didn't want to relocate. And to go down for every homestand would have been too much money. So after negotiating back and forth, we decided I would stay with the Red Wings and stay in town. And it would have been fun for a year, but I think it would have gotten old going back and forth. So I think I made the right decision.
And I mean, Steinbrenner didn't try to give you a little extra money to sweeten the pot or anything like that? No. I mentioned that you've done 3 different sports here in town, and for those of you not familiar, the Zeniths were a basketball team in the Continental Basketball Association when they were just a level below the NBA back then. How is it different from sport to sport? How is it different from the Wings and, say, the Avericks? You know, playing, I mean, you play different types of music? Is it a different crowd?
I think with the Wings, I get the chance to play more songs. With hockey, it's a pretty fast-paced game, and you don't get a chance to play as much. Same with basketball. With the Wings, I get a chance to stretch out a little bit. Yeah.
And in talking, you've told me like you kind of consider yourself your role. You're kind of like a musical cheerleader, right? You're kind of like, keeping the crowd going, like for the home team and so forth. Talk a little bit about your role, how you envision yourself.
Well, I'm just another part of the entertainment package there. Trying to keep the crowd into the game. And I will say that the baseball fans are tremendous because you can be behind 15-0, but you get a rally going and they get going. They're right with you. So yeah, it's so much fun.
Now you've had sometimes it doesn't work, right? There was that infamous 23-1 game. I think was it one of the season openers that time, like you were.
Tidewater, our opening game, and if you recall, Jay Colley was an announcer at the time. It was his first game, and Jay was very excited about coming to AAA and doing the Wings game. And the poor guy, we were like behind 15-0 by the third inning, and he had to try to make the game interesting, but it was a tough one.
Now you've got an Ironman streak going too. That's more impressive than the Ironman Cal Ripken Jr. But there was a time it came close to ending because of your ball playing. Correct? Tell us that story about how it came pretty close. There's some fingers.
Well, we had a front office softball team that played the advertisers and different radio stations and TV stations. And I'm playing third base, and somebody hit a line drive, broke my finger, and a double fracture. And I could see my whole career ending, So they rushed me into the dugout trying to figure what's wrong with me. And a funny thing happened. There was a lady from the R1 section, that's all the famous girl, and she thought they had to give me some air, so she hollers out, "Pull his pants down." Nancy, Nancy. Well, what did I have to do with my finger, So anyway, they did not pull my pants down. They did not. So we went to Northside, and I had a double fracture of this ring finger. Wings came back in town the following week. I did not miss a game. I became the best 9-fingered organist in town.
Now, talking about your playing days and so forth here I think this was at Silver Stadium, in fact, one of your greatest memories, and it involved a local baseball legend.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, what is your favorite memory with the Red Wings? It was not playing the organ. You have to remember that I was an aspiring ball player. I thought I was going to be a great ball player. Well, in the mid-'80s, the Red Wings had an old-timers game where they brought in all the old-timers for a baseball game. And I was asked to play for Johnny Antonelli's team. And so I'm out there playing third base, 9,000 people in the stands. First pitch, Johnny's ready for the first pitch, looks over to me and said, "Fred, are you ready?" I said, "Are you kidding? I've been ready for 30 years.
What about some memorable games, maybe, in which you were playing the organ, when you think about it, thinking back? Obviously, you've been involved in several Governor's Cup championships here that were clinched here and so forth, but when you think back, what are some ones that stick out?
Well, I think the Governor's Cup is very important. I think that was a big one. One of the games I remember was actually kind of a faux pas on my part. If you remember, you come to the games, when we hit a home run, I do this old-fashioned circus thing, da-da-da-da-da, and I play that every time we hit a home run. And I try to hit it, I try to start the song as soon as possible, as soon as the ball goes off the bat. Well, one time Dan Logan was up the bat. Remember Dan, our first baseman? So he hits the ball, which I'm sure is going out. So I start playing the home run song. Except it hit the fence. and Dan heard me play it, so he started jogging, Right fielder picks up the ball, throws it into second base. Dan sees it, he runs back to first, head first into first base, and he just looked up at me. The ball players have that, where they fine you,
Oh yeah, kangaroo court?
Kangaroo court. I got fined for that.
Now, I know in some ballparks, when a call goes against the home team or whatever, organists have been known to play 3 blind mice. Has Fred Costello ever played 3 blind mice? Okay.
No. I have played things like Johnny Nash's I Can See Clearly Now.
That's more solo, I like that. The Red Wings are fortunate to be one of the few sports organizations on any level, major or minor leagues, to have their own theme song. And we have Here Come the Red Wings. Tell us about how that came about, because you're the one who composed that.
Yeah, back in, I think it was '83, I went to the GM at the time and said, we do not have a theme song, I think we should have one. And, you know, a vocal version and an instrumental version we could use as a backup on radio. And he gave me the okay, and I went out and wrote it. And we use it every day. And it makes it feel good.
Have you ever thought about updating some of the lyrics? Because I know you got some of the old-time players or whatever.
Not really.
No?
Not really. It's kind of keep it like it is.
Similarities between baseball and music. Do you see some? Do you see some analogies between the two?
Well, as far as what I play, I decided when I first got the job with the Red Wings, when I was on the road, I was many major league parks, for many major league organists. And I decided when I was offered the job that I was going to play a little differently, in that it's the same people in nightclubs that come to the ballpark. And while some of these organists were phenomenal musicians, and I love them, they were starting to sound a little dated. And I just thought I would play the same things in the ballpark, kind of what I do in the nightclubs. Some top 40, some Latin, some jazz, some regular. And I think it's worked out pretty good. I decided I want to be a little different.
You're a big Syracuse fan.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, obviously growing up in Syracuse.
Yeah, I remember going to all the Syracuse, a lot of the football games, basketball games.
So Archbold Stadium?
Yeah, Archbold Stadium. See Floyd Little.
Yeah.
But I was a big Syracuse Nats fan. Of course, they became the Philadelphia team.
Right.
And I got to know all those players. My band played in a place called the Eastwood Sports Center, which was owned by Danny Biazone, the owner of the Syracuse Nats. He, of course, was the one that invented the 24-second clock.
Right.
You know. So I got to know all the ball players because of that.
Do you remember them playing the Rochester Royals and stuff coming to town?
Oh, yeah.
Now, is it true, I heard stories like when other teams would come to Syracuse and play the War Memorial and stuff,
Yeah.
they would play some games, and they have the basket stanchions, and they have like the wires that go back. And I've heard some players, opposing players, say that Syracuse fans would sometimes pull on those cables when guys were shooting free throws. Is there any truth to that?
They said it was the worst place to play. Yeah, between the fans and the things they did, yeah, it was tough.
Now, we mentioned about the Zeniths. What was that like playing for them? That was a pretty good brand of basketball. People didn't realize.
Yeah, it was good. It was too bad it wasn't like a AAA team like in baseball. So they didn't draw that much, but it was a phenomenal team. And I did about 3 years with them, and then they finally left.
I know in some NBA arenas, and this kind of drives me nuts. I wonder how you feel about this, but I know up in Toronto, last time I was at an NBA game, I had to cover. They played music while the guy's dribbling the ball up the court and stuff.
Yeah, I never did that. I could never see that. No, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan, you got a bunch of questions there? You want to?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. We're gonna. I want to ask you a couple things.
By the way, I know everybody has a question to ask, and my wife wanted to write something down. Yes, I took the garbage out before that.
Okay, that was important to get that answered. Did you ever figure out how many songs you played?
No, because my repertoire is unbelievable. I had 15, 20 songs every year, plus all the songs I know over the years, you know.
So did you ever miss a game?
No.
No?
No.
Never missed a game? Wow. And Kathy, like, I mean, why, you decide like, hey, if you're going to see me, then you better get a job at the ballpark? Is that
Well, no, how it happened is my second year there, I'm playing, and Kathy would come to the games, she'd sit in the box seats. Wasn't that big baseball fan at the time. So she'd be sitting in the box seat, reading the Glamour magazine or something. And the GM at the time, Bob Drew, came up to her and said, Kathy, you're embarrassing me. Would you like to work in the office? She said, yeah, why not? And it was 40 years ago. And she's still there.
No.
And
That's right, my two
Right.
boys ran the clubhouse.
Right.
My daughter Jackie was here tonight, she worked for a short time,
Very
in a
short.
concession, very short. And was kind of the Costello residence, you know.
Now you, obviously the game was played in Pawtucket, so you weren't involved in the 33 inning game, but you had to have a few long, extra long games. How tough is that? Like, I remember one game, if I'm not mistaken, it actually didn't start until like 10 o'clock or whatever. There was like rain delays and things. How tough is that? Because it's not like, hey, I'm going to work and I'll be home like, by midnight. I mean.
It's not tough for me. The toughest part for me on those long games is Kathy calling up from the office and saying, when are we going home? So I don't mind myself, you know.
That's right.
All right, we're gonna get to some of the questions out here. We've got a question here. Please give us your estimate of Gladys Gooding, longtime organist at Ebbets Field. Was she someone you tried in any way to emulate?
No, Gladys Gooding actually was the first organist to play in a sporting event, I guess for the old Brooklyn Dodgers.
Right.
But it was way before my time, so no, I couldn't copy her.
Were there?
I know of her, you know.
You know of her. Any organists that you admired in the ballparks?
Well, Eddie Layton with the Yankees did a nice job. You know, Eddie was there for many years. And there was an organist with the Dodgers, and I can't remember his name now, but also did a real nice job.
What's the best baseball song that most people here wouldn't know?
The one I wrote, Here Come the Red Wings.
They know that. What is your favorite baseball song besides that one? There's some good baseball songs out there.
That I've heard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I did a show with a guy who wrote Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Oh, okay. Cashman.
Terry Cashman.
Terry Cashman.
I like that one. Mickey Mantle actually was on a record with Teresa Brewer.
Right.
You know that.
I heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
audience may not.
there's a thing called Here Comes Mickey.
Mickey.
Yeah.
I love Mickey.
I love Mickey.
I love Mickey.
Teresa Brewer did that.
And he actually he just mouths the words for his.
He had a speaking part in it. He said, Mickey who?
Right.
and he said that out of tempo. He didn't get it right, but it was
there were some other great baseball-related songs like Willie Mays song, right?
Right.
There was one, and then
Say Hey Willie.
Say Hey Willie, and then DiMaggio, obviously.
Joe and Joe.
Joe, and he's referenced in Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel, right.
Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio?
You know your songs.
I know a few of them. Don't ask me to play it. That's right, Bingo Bongo. What is the most difficult baseball-themed song to play?
The most
difficult one for you to play a baseball song. Is there
None.
none? All right. How about center field, John Fogerty?
I like that.
Would you trade your organist career for a career as a player?
Wow, oh, wait a second. That's a tough one. How about I become a ball player like that and then just play nightclubs in the wintertime? And have the best of both worlds.
Now, there was a guy who did it by the name of Denny McClain, right? He could play the
I met
keyboard.
Denny a couple years ago when he came here.
Did you talk music?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Denny worked in Vegas also, you know, and he had an album out.
Right. But you didn't win 31 games in the season, right?
No, but I also didn't come here with my probation officer.
That's great. That's a good comeback. I like that. I like that. Denny might not.
He's bigger than me too.
Yeah. When did you get the idea of the trivia contest? Because it's just a great feature and adds to the experience here at the ballpark. I look forward to it every time I come.
Well, you know, as a kid, I was so immersed in baseball, and I knew so much baseball, so much trivia. I could name you the starting team, the starting lineup of every team in the league, and I just knew all that stuff, and it became more and more. And when I got the job of the Wings, I went to the GM and said we should have a trivia contest where we give away a couple tickets. And of course, those days at Silver Stadium, we had the spiral staircase, if you remember that. And I would give the question out, and people would have to run up the spiral staircase, and I would come down and try to pick out who's giving the right answer, you know. And we're doing it to this day, so it's kind of fun.
We should say too, that spiral staircase was not easy to navigate. I know from having to go up the press box there, and I felt for the guys who had to carry anything heavy up there, because there wasn't a lot of room to maneuver, and it wasn't fun like when, you know, the lights were turned out and you were trying to go down that.
That's right.
Along these same lines here, what is your favorite trivia question? Is there a favorite trivia question you've had?
Yeah, this is one that no one ever gets. Now, I know there's a lot of Yankee fans here, and Don Larson, of course, had the perfect game. And that was not the only tremendous thing that happened to him. No, the only important thing that happened to him that day. There's a second very important thing that happened to him the same day that he got the perfect game, and no one ever knows it. The answer is, he got his divorce papers. So talk about ups and downs, right?
Did you play polkas at the Polish night at Red Wing Stadium?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I do Italian songs and Italian night, and sure, I don't do all those.
Were you ever a vocalist at all?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite type of music to sing? Raps?
No, I remember when I first met Kathy, I was singing "Jailer, Bring Me Water" about me Darren.
Be Darren. Who is your...
No comment on that, by the way.
We can bring her up here.
No.
We'll get
Who was your favorite Red Wings manager?
Oh, wow, there's been a few. Doc Edwards was a good friend of mine. Doc was really good. Dave McNamara did my baseball camp. I ran my baseball camp for 32 years. Dave did it. Frank Verdi, who's not very successful here, was a good friend of mine. He used to come to the club where I played all the time, he and his wife. Yeah, there's been a few of them.
Alto?
Oh, Alto, of course.
Of course, he was gone.
He was gone. I started the year after Alto.
Right.
Yeah.
1977.
Right.
First year here. What about players? Who are some of your favorite Wings players?
Well, I got to know a lot of the players real well because A, my son ran the clubhouse. B, I would hire them to do my baseball camp. So quite a few became real good friends of mine. Kurt Moten, John Valley. Actually, I played John Valley's wedding. My band played for his wedding. But as my boys got older, they would bring the players home after a night out drinking, and they wake up Kathy at midnight and say, you know, we're hungry. She'd get up and cook for them. And we had a little pop-up trailer in our backyard. And I remember one night, I woke up and Dickie Knowles, remember Dickie Knowles? He was sleeping in the trailer. Another one, 2 or 3 players were on the couch. And so it was a great way for my kids to grow up, and they had a great time. You know?
Warmest home opener at Silver Stadium. I remember like there was like an 86 degree, you know.
Oh yeah, well, you know, my band always played out in front for the openers, and there was some where we just were in t-shirts, and some where it was actually snowing, you know, and you never know what you're going to get, you know. You get a night like this, you know.
And somebody wants to know the coldest home opener at Silver. Many, right? Too many.
Many, yeah, many.
Now you remember the home opener here was pretty cold as
Pretty
well.
cold, right.
What was that like for you? Like, you know, to christen a new ballpark. What was it like to close one and to christen one?
Well, it was very sad to close Silver Stadium because, I mean, I saw my kids grow up there. My son was a bad boy there, then whatever, you know, and we had so many memories. We did so many concerts there, and, you know, there's a lot of memories. And it was time. It was time to leave, but again, we had so many fond memories. It was exciting to open up here. So both of them were fun.
I think we may have addressed this before, like the worst loss at Silver, was it that 23-1 game against the Tides? Or maybe they refer this as most painful loss.
Well, that's a tough loss, but I think a worse loss is probably if you lose the game 2-1 in the 9th inning. You know, I mean, 23-1, you know where you're going. You know?
Fred, were you present at Silver Stadium for the Stadium Stock event that Jeff Manto came to? Remember, he drove up from Philadelphia.
Yes, I was. And a funny thing about Jeff Manto, by the way, for those of you who know him, he's a tremendous guy. He was invited up here and inducted in the Hall of Fame. And of course, Kathy did a lot of cooking for the boys when they ran the clubhouse. And she's very famous for her very famous Kathy Costello meatloaf.
Yeah.
So,
What's in the meatloaf?
it's a secret. I think she put a pot in there or something. Anyway, Jeff Manto was on the field, and he said, and again, a great guy. He thanked everybody for being inducted in the Hall of Fame. He said, I enjoyed my time here in Rochester, especially Kathy Costello's meatloaf. So she became famous because of Jeff Manto, because of her meatloaf.
I think it might be on the plaque too, on his plaque. His Hall of Fame plaque. That might be it for these questions here. You're one of the other things that you love to do, and you do it for the program, and I'm thankful that you've included me in a few of these. You love to do lists in different things. So let me throw some lists at you then. Like, what are some of your favorite, maybe Red Wings players? Let's talk about that first. Like your of all time. It doesn't have to be ones just during your tenure. Greatest Wings in your mind.
Oh, the greatest players?
Yeah.
Of course, Ripken. We got to know him pretty well. And he's everything that you think he is, tremendous guy. Mike Messina was here, of course, just got into the Hall of Fame, 20 years,
Yeah.
And nice thing about Ripken, he would call the house. Chris was playing shortstop at the time for McQuaid. And he would call the house and say, come out to the ballpark a little early today, I'll hit you some ground balls. I told Chris, did you realize how lucky you are, how fortunate you are to have Carol Ripken calling the house and saying, let me just hit you some ground balls. But there's so many players who come through here,
Kurt Schilling was here.
Kurt Schilling,
around
again, did my camp also.
Did your camp,
yeah.
right.
And they're just, I really enjoyed a couple years ago was Chris Colabello. Yeah, Chris was a great guy and could hit a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about nicknames? Occasionally you have some lists there with nicknames, Red Wings nicknames.
Oh boy, you put me on the spot now. I can't remember all the nicknames now.
That's all right. That's okay.
Yeah.
Joe Altobelli, you got to know after when he came back
Right,
and stuff.
right.
And talk a little bit about any Joe stories that you have favorite ones with him.
Yeah, Joe, besides being a great ball player and a great manager, loves music. So every time I got with Joe, we would talk about singers and music, and of course Joe's in Detroit,
Right.
and there were a couple of groups that came out of Detroit that he knows about, and we talked about them all the time. So Joe likes to talk more music when he gets with me, but it's a joy to talk with him, and I know when he came out of the ballpark this past year, it meant a lot to him to be out there and to be adored by so many people.
How long do you want to do this for?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm asked that question all the time. And my stock answer is, musicians don't retire because they get old. They get old because they retire. So I'm going to be around.
All right. All right, well, let's give him a round of applause. Okay, we've got the last call for raffle tickets. And as I said, we've got two great gifts here. And before Fred leaves, we have a little gift for you, a little token of our appreciation.
Anybody here? Didn't break it.
You didn't break it either. Every year, for our special guest here, we give them a lifetime membership into our organization here. So there's your permanent card there for the Rochester Baseball Historical Society. Thanks, everyone.
Anybody